Hello, everybody, and welcome back into Gamecock Central. Kendall Smith alongside of Wes Mitchell back here for another recruiting rundown. Wes, I feel like it's been quite some time since you and I have just sat down and talked about South Carolina football recruiting, but it's certainly been a busy time. How much did you miss me, Wes, when we weren't doing these?
Oh, so much, Kendall. It has been a while. I think you're recording this from the Knights basement right now. I see a Charlotte Knights jersey behind you. Um, yeah, I don't know who 31 is, but it looks like he was pretty important. So yeah, we have not talked recruiting, and the Gamecocks, as always, have been hard at work trying to get some new prospects in, Kendall.
Well, that's just the name of the game. Shane Beamer constantly working to get more people to commit to South Carolina and starting to shape out this class of 2024. And Wes, when you think of the 2024 class, you think of a whole bunch of four stars. And South Carolina currently pursuing another four-star who is set to announce on Friday. Josiah Thompson out of Dillon, South Carolina. He attends Dillon High School, an offensive tackle. Again, four-star guy, according to On3. Wes, got to kick things off by asking you, where do you think Thompson stands right now? It's between Clemson, Carolina, and Alabama. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think the Gamecocks are in a great spot to get some good news on Friday. Yeah, they've been recruiting this guy since before Shane Beamer even took over as the head coach. I think they offered him in 2020. And then when Beamer came in, he was one of the first offers, Kendall. And really, they have just made him a priority the entire time. I think I put in my prediction for South Carolina like over a year ago, maybe over 2 years ago. I don't know. It's been a while. I'm sticking to that. And this would be an opportunity to potentially hit the trifecta of in-state offensive line targets. Obviously, Cam Pringle already committed, Blake Franks a couple of weeks ago, and now potentially adding Josiah. On3 is even higher on him than the rest of the industry. He has him as the number 19 overall prospect in the entire country for the class of 2024. Four-star guy. If he were to remain in that top 19 range, though, would actually be a five-star before the process is over. So big time prospect. Anytime you're potentially beating out an Alabama, a Clemson, Georgia has been involved as well. If you get a guy over schools like that, you're obviously doing something right. And just a matter of them coming in and making him a priority, like I said, for years now, building those relationships, building that comfort level. And all signs are that it will pay off on Friday morning.
Well, we've seen with this 2024 class, Shane Beamer and his staff winning a lot of big boy recruiting battles, as you like to call them. And so much of that stems from the fact that they do start to develop those relationships so early in high school with a lot of these guys. And that seems to be the case for Josiah as well. Again, he'll announce on Friday and we'll see where he ends up going. But Wes, you mentioned those three offensive linemen in the 2024 class, the in-state trifecta of Blake Franks, Cam Pringle, and then potentially Josiah Thompson, who may commit to South Carolina on Friday. If South Carolina is able to get Thompson, you're feeling great about where you stand from an offensive line perspective. But in the coming months, as South Carolina starts to pick up more guys in this 2024 class, what position groups do you think they really need to focus in on?
Yeah, like you said, I think you feel good about the O line. I think as we get into the summer, you will see them start to fill out their class in the defensive backfield. And I think at wide receiver as well. They already have, I would say, one of, if not their top receiver target committed in Mazio Bennett, but several of their guys who they're recruiting really hard at that position, I think will start to not only formulate their final schools, but also probably make some decisions. They got several guys who are defensive backs who are going to be in for official visits over the summer. I think those guys will start to lock in on decisions. And really, 3 for 3 in state with the offensive lineman. You add in Mazio, that's 4 for 4. And they're potentially closing in on a guy in Kelvin Hunter, who I don't know when he's going to announce, but I think they're the leader there as well. So if they get Josiah, as we're kind of projecting on Friday, and then ultimately get Kelvin Hunter, that will mean they are 5 for 5 on in-state guys that they had offered in this class, which I don't think has ever happened as far as being perfect. There's maybe a guy or two who could eventually get an offer. Marcus Downs is a defensive lineman from Riverside. He's probably going to camp with South Carolina. 2024 guy who's like kind of right on that line, hasn't been offered yet by Carolina, but we're kind of tracking him. You never know, does a like a Nick Emmanwori type just pop up? Nick got a late offer from South Carolina camp going into the senior year. Always a possibility of that. But right now, you're staring down 5 for 5. And, I think that's something that Carolina can really push, like perception wise. That's something they can talk about. And I think they already have a lead for Amari Adams, who is the early favorite for the top prospect in the state for the class of 2025 as well, defensive lineman out of Lake City. So, there's some different position groups, but I think overall, you just have to feel good about this recruiting class and what they have going. And we'll see what the momentum they're able to build now does with maybe grabbing the attention for some other top national guys too.
Well, you just talked about it there, the class of 2025. It's hard to believe, but that is kind of the next area that Shane Beamer and his staff are going to start to focus on. I feel like we were just talking about the 2022 class, but here we are talking about 2025. And last year with the 24 class, we saw Dante Reno commit to South Carolina in the summer. So, Wes, I think the question is going to start to come up of when do you think South Carolina might see that first official verbal commitment from a 2025 guy?
Yeah, and there's nobody that we're like focused in on that makes a ton of sense right now. It does kind of seem to come out of nowhere, I feel like. And, you look at Dante, generally quarterbacks get recruited and then commit earlier than a lot of other positions do. I don't have a feel yet for who the top 2025 quarterback target might be for South Carolina. So that kind of X's out that possibility. I think they have a lead for Adams, but I also think his offer list is already getting bigger by the day, will continue to grow. Could be a little bit longer of a recruiting process. So we'll see. It's one of those things where it wouldn't shock me if it was a little bit later than it was with Dante. But at the same time, again, sometimes, you had the Hobbs kid that committed, the defensive back from the Northeast, ended up going to Notre Dame. He committed pretty early. And, so you just never know. Also, it does feel like the fact they got such a head start on 2024 O-line recruiting, they had so many top offensive linemen for the 2025 class and for spring practice as well. So they certainly have done a good job of getting a head start on this class too.
Lots of guys in for spring practice. And then this weekend, you've got the spring game on deck for South Carolina, a huge recruiting opportunity for the Gamecocks. Any names, and I know we'll get into this a lot more on GamecockCentral.com, so be sure to visit us over there. But any little teasers, Wes, for what could be in store recruiting-wise at the spring game this weekend?
Yeah, I hope to have a full visitors list for folks maybe on Friday on Gamecock Central as far as the guys who are expected in town. But if I was going to pinpoint just one, I would go Daniel Hill, who's a 4-star athlete / running back from Mississippi. Carolina has had momentum here. They will look to get him back on campus. He's expected to be in town. This is a chance. I think they are the leader. I'm not saying he's going to commit while he's on campus, but I think this is a chance to kind of continue that momentum, maybe get yourself in a position to get him back in town for an official visit and potentially close out his recruitment this summer. That's a guy I look at running back recruiting. They would love to have a couple of big time backs in this class from the high school ranks. I really like what they did in this last class at running back as far as the guys that are coming in. And I think if they can land a couple of guys from the high school ranks, starting with Daniel Hill, then that should set them up at that position moving forward. So you want to see him, if you're a Gamecock fan, you want to see him make it in for that visit. Anytime you're recruiting guys from a little bit outside of your normal footprint, Mississippi, when you get them on campus, that represents a big opportunity because it's not like, let's say, a Josiah Thompson, for example. He's like an hour and a half from the school. He's on campus all the time. A Mississippi kid, it just doesn't happen as often. So you got to take advantage when you do get those guys on campus.
It's all about momentum. We have seen Shane Beamer and his staff continue to build recruiting momentum. And as always, we'll keep you posted over on GamecockCentral.com with all of the recruiting news, all the football news, all the basketball news, all the baseball news, all the Gamecock sports news in general. We've got you posted, so be sure to visit us at GamecockCentral.com and then on social media at Gamecock Central. Wes, always appreciate you and your insight. I'm excited about this weekend, excited to see what's in store for the South Carolina football program. And I know that so many fans feel the exact same way. Appreciate you, Wes. I'm Kendall Smith. He's Wes Mitchell. This has been another recruiting rundown here on Gamecock Central. We'll see you guys soon.